Today we're talking about how Sonic perfected gaming in the essence of Sonic releasing way back when on the Sega Genesis, the very first one. I would say the very first Sonic, it was solid, it was great, but it was Sonic 2 that really took it to the next level. Now Sonic 1, make no mistake, it was awesome, but there's a lot of things you couldn't do where you didn't feel as much as you are as the Speedster Hedgehog in part 2. But it did have great music and everything, but the whole fascination about Sonic perfecting gaming was, one, its peers / actual wars it went with Mario on the other helm of a dynamic franchise and dynamic actual development studio, company, corporation, and just the utmost people that hold their throne over at Nintendo was going against Sega before Sega went third party, and now obviously we get Sonic on Nintendo platforms, PlayStation platforms, etc., and all these classics and everything, including like Sonic Mania later down the line. But Sonic 2, it changed so much in how Sonic did perfect gaming in this 2D format. This was an era in the 90s where platform games were everywhere. Literally, there was bangers everywhere. You know, from if you want to go the Super Nintendo route, I did share a I did just share a Nintendo video in totality that talks about all the platformer games, all the OG franchises. You know, Mario, Metroid, Donkey Kong, and then you also have RPG elements and stuff. It's just so much that there was offering. Every corner you looked was either platform games or beat 'em up games in these times, and the creativity was through the roof. And so Sonic really delivers, and how they perfect everything was the essence of the music. I still listen to literally all the OST to this day, the actual soundtracks when I work out. Sonic 2 is just incredible, and people who missed out on this era, a lot of people will agree with me, of course, if they're in my era, not just based off nostalgia, but you're just like, damn, it looks great. And some 3D Sonic games I know a lot of people do not enjoy, but I'm more talking about the variances of how it perfected that 2D platform and why it's still popular to this day. And obviously thanks to Sega becoming third party, and they did go exclusive with Nintendo for a while, which also brought continuous eyes. So Sonic was great back then, kind of went to war with Nintendo, all that, became third party, then got exclusive deal to Nintendo, and then now it's just an overall, just it could be released everywhere now. And that's kind of just the gist of the whole story. And the music, the pacing, depending on which Sonic game you're playing, you're going to get your lore, your story, your canon essentials. Then you have the cartoons, and then you have the success of the movies. Now, completely undefeated, completely perfected from where they first started. Now, again, Sonic, coming from Sonic 1 to Sonic 2 was the biggest leap that we had seen, because Mario was completely dominating platforms, and we had like Donkey Kong Country and all that stuff. And when Sonic was on Sonic 1, that soundtrack is amazing, by the way, still. I still enjoy Sonic 1. It's a little bit harder, I feel, than Sonic 2. But when it made that leap, the mechanics of the game, the simplification of the game, you can jump into the game. You can actually pause in the game, I think, in Sonic 2. And you could do so much that really it immerses the gamer to... It helps you out. Obviously, you know, when you play these Sonic ones, especially if you haven't really played the 2D platforms, just play Sonic Mania. It's the most recent one that makes new stages, and I want to cover more of that in a little bit, but they have new stages, and they have the OG plethora of all the Sonic library, at least most of them, a lot of the fan favorites. But when you think about it, Sonic kind of plays the game for you just for how fast he is. He's fast as shit. And then they also have complications in the bosses, right? Dr. Eggman and all that. The bosses are really, really good. And it's great for just all ages, these types of games. And therefore, for people like me who actually played OG, grew up with these games, it was so cool to have a way to just jump in. It gets straight to the point. And just everything from collecting, you know, the Chaos Emeralds, the rings. Everything was just so much of a brand new nuance that took, and it catapulted this scenery of platform gaming. Because when you look back, it was Mario and it was Metroid for sure that was really crushing it. Donkey Kong 2 when it became like the actual Donkey Kong Country and everything. And all their soundtracks are amazing too, by the way. But Sonic, for some reason, takes that music to a whole nother level. That immersion to a whole nother level, just on how fast he is, just what you can do throughout the game, and just the delivery format of how Sonic is capable of letting the game kind of play for you, right? You know, when you go, you get rolling, you're going, and it kind of plays it for you for a little bit. Then you can actually control it at ease. Then you can transit. Those transitions are so amazing, great, and just appealing for the delivery of the experience. And that's what I love Sonic about like the most. And then you get like Tails. So now you have some comedic aspects to the game. You have your partner in crime. You're going around, you're doing these missions. Again, if you haven't really played Sonic games, I'm not going to spoil it for you because, you know, Sonic's for all audiences, especially with the movies still being recent, shows with Knuckles. And yeah, so that's what happens. And Sonic 2 goes into Sonic 3 and furthermore, right? Sonic 3 is also really, really good. I'm telling y'all, these soundtracks are good. That's why I feel that Sonic did so great, because what it did is that it simplified some advanced mechanics to make it kind of an automatic approach when you play these games, so it's not too daunting. And then it also gives you the complexity of fighting bosses and having somewhat of a game loop that is familiar but while delivering new essences. Now let's transition to the new essences, right? That's where Sonic Mania comes in. Now Sonic Mania is something that was, and this is why Sonic is perfected, because Sonic Mania was the truth, the statistics as to how Sonic perfected gaming. When Sonic Mania came out, I know people probably just thought about it like me, or just like, oh, okay, it's probably like a remaster, a collection of games. We went in there and there's actually new material in that game, new music, new stages, and new gameplay essentials, more characters to choose from, and what you can do, the save blocks and everything. And what was crazy was that they still kept the same formula and the same artistic approach, the same art scheme based on, and this is way later in the year. What was it, like 2021 that Sonic Mania came out? Or is, I don't know, man. It might be a little bit before that, right? 2018, 2021? I don't know. Y'all gotta let me know. I forgot what year. But when Sonic Mania came out, it had new material. To this day, if you haven't played OG Sonic in a long time, just go to Sonic Mania. It's gonna even give you new material still. So fresh material that delivers exactly what the OG audience really loved about Sonic, a complete love letter back to the audiences while catering to a new audience that kind of was already familiar with Sonic in terms of the new art style and all their 3D games, of course, from Sonic Heroes onward and all that, with Shadow being introduced and everything. And then you play Sonic Mania, and they meshed it so well together that it's unbelievable how they did that. They meshed Sonic to where the way it would be for us with the music mechanics and the immersion and the simplified approaches to how the game almost inevitably plays automatically for you at a high speed, much deserved. He's a speedster, he's a hedgehog. And then it also blends in these new stages with the same type of correlation of music, remixes Act 1, Act 2 in Sonic Mania. It was just like, man, this is insane. It feels like it's all just an OG remaster, like a collection of series. But these are actually new stages along with the older stages, along with new act songs and remixes and funk tracks. And you're just like, yo, Sonic completely perfected this system. By all means, they delivered. This is how you perfect a game. You give an ultimate love letter to the old school fans while introducing new fans. And for people that were newer and younger that actually got introduced to the 2D essential of this type of Sonic with this art style, with everything, is something where they capitalized on. Because if you still go, like even me, I was doing all my research, I'm going back to all the YouTube videos in terms of the soundtrack, and I could hear, I could see all the comments, you could hear all the like the certain snares and everything. It just opens up to a wide variation of how music is coordinated in the game, and even younger audiences are loving it. OG audiences are like, man, I thought I liked this casino, or I thought I liked you know, Green Hill Zone. I thought I liked, the Ruin stage, and now I like this stage. And they're the newer Sonic Mania music stages that are, some of these newer stages are actually being on top 5 lists and top 10 lists against all the OG stuff. So it's not just a nostalgia bait either, what Sonic Mania did. By far one of the coolest things, aside from Mortal Kombat 9 in 2011, I still feel that Sonic Mania is one of the best love letters ever to Sonic fans, and it had to deal with delivering, capitalizing, executing, bringing all the classics back, enhancing it, and just meshing them all together to where it doesn't really even feel like it's an old game. It feels like it's all just new to somebody who's new to the franchise. But if you're OG, it still feels like you're just playing Sega back in the 90s. And I gotta give Sonic a lot of props for that. There is no Sonic Mania 2 happening though, because the developers did say there was one thing that really went out there. They just said that they were just not interested in that art style anymore. Rightfully so. I mean, this was made in the 90s. That's like 30 years ago. Rightfully so. You know, I'm an old man too now, and we played those era of games, and we can't just cater to us all day. That's why I like Sonic Mania, for just catering to both and saying thank you. And some things are best left untouched, you know, like that's it. They made this beautiful project, and they were like, hey, we even gave you new stages. Now the new stages are speculation. We don't know if these were just like OG extra stages that they just never put on Sonic 1, 2, and 3 on the actual Genesis. But yeah, that was so great for us, and therefore Sonic Mania 2 was that. They said they didn't want to continue with that actual style. They want to actually bring in way more innovation in what they do. They said there are gonna be some spiritual predecessors, so maybe they'll get in some sequels that kind of remind you of Sonic Mania. And then the other side of it also was much more smaller articles, which stated that there just wasn't enough profit in what they were doing for that OG type of style of game. But Sonic, hands down, to this day, I'm jamming out to all the music. I'm listening to Sonic Mania Plus music. I'm enjoying everything that they have, and I'm just like, damn, like they really did perfect gaming in what a game should be. Both audiences, remaster, new stages. The music is still the same, but they're brand new projects. So they brought all these brand new projects, and they made it seem like it was a seamless transition from like 30 years apart. And you gotta love them for that, man. But yeah, y'all gotta let me know, man, what's your favorite Sonic? How did Sonic impact your life? And are you still jamming out to the music? Man, their music is phenomenal, and that's how they perfect gaming for sure, in my opinion. Peace.